find this live right now. Nobody's watching yet.
Okay.
Welcome in to the Sikkim 365 Baylor postgame show. Paul Catalina, Jacob Wilson, Emery Winter is here, Garrett Ross back at the studios, and guys, let's just get right into what just happened out there. Baylor got absolutely worked by Air Force. Again, I've been saying this all week. The key to Baylor winning this game was them wanting to win it. Like they had to try, and
they looked like they tried with about 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, and they really just didn't have any oomph. This game meant a lot to Air Force. Clearly, this Baylor team has been very hard to peg all year long. And the way that the season has ended now, 6-7 on a 4-game losing streak, when you were 6-3 at one point with, your destiny in your own hands, a chance to compete for the conference title, loss in the bowl game before Christmas, by the way. This is not the way that you roll out a title defense of the Big 12.
No, this was a team that we were talking about being in a bottleneck for Big 12 title contention, and then they hosted Kansas State, and then all the wheels just immediately came off from that week on. And we would have thought, I've been saying this option offense with Air Force, they ran it beautifully tonight. But traditionally speaking, come bowl season, this is an offense that when you have time to prepare for it, most teams step up and do a good job defending it. Look at Georgia Tech from the Paul Johnson era. Mm-hmm. That Georgia Tech team, as good as that run was for them, they rarely won bowl games because their opponents always had time to prepare. And Dave Aranda took control of this defense, had time to prepare, and somehow didn't get it done. I don't think that it's necessarily on him. They didn't look great on offense either. It was just, it was really, really hard to see a team that had a lot more on the line than most Big 12 teams playing in the Armed Forces Bowl would have to play for. But they had something to play for, which was pride because of how they ended their regular season. And it's disappointing the way it ended.
Yeah. You would have liked to have some time between, the signing day and the bowl game. There are reasons that this probably all came together and was a conglomeration of bad. Look, you fire the defensive coordinator, the backup quarterback goes in the transfer portal, all these different things happen. And on top of that, you have to prepare for a game that is the day after National Signing Day while you're trying to close a class, which the class outside of losing the quarterback that you wanted was good. But all these kind of bad things have happened at once. And it's just, they didn't navigate it the right way. And we'll never know if there was a right way to navigate all that stuff, but you really just kind of felt the weight of the last month of the season and the last 3 weeks all on it tonight, because they didn't convert a third down. They didn't control anything in this game. Air Force had their way. And really, this is a team that the herd's going to get culled a little bit. There's a lot of guys with expiring eligibility. They're going to be gone. There's going to be some guys in the portal as well. I think you're going to see a roster with, 25 new players.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to. They're already been in the portal and successfully here in the last couple of days, getting some nice pieces for next year. But they're going to have to go really into the portal in the next few days.
This is a team that needs a Real Housewives of Beverly Hills style facelift, and Baylor fans just really need to hope that facelift looks good, because as we know from anyone who's ever watched that show, they don't always. But yeah, there's a little bit to be optimistic about, because they did pick up some guys who look like they can contribute next year with signing day yesterday. But again, those are high school kids. They're unproven. And so you just got to hope that they can develop the guys that they are bringing in. And of course, addressing the need at quarterback, which they are so thin at, only one scholarship guy. And that one scholarship guy tonight was 11 for 23 and 188 yards. Air Force looked a little bit better throwing the ball tonight. They got a little spicy, throwing it 7 times.
Yeah, absolutely. And everything was bad overall. Jumping into the chat. By the way, if you want to call or text 254-339-1122, we will certainly take that call or the text. Let us know your feelings as the season ends. I think a lot of it's relief. So glad the season's over. Man, what a gut punch. Second gut punch of the week after Novosad. We had a month to prepare for this crap, and we laid a turd. Everybody, was very mad at Jeff Grimes, and this was not his best called game.
No, it was not.
The weather was certainly a factor, but it wasn't a factor for Air Force, right? So Air Force found a way to make the weather not a factor. Now, the weather did completely work out in their favor in that they run an offense that, honestly, for the most part, is not affected by weather. You can travel as long as it's being effective. Like, they're not going to do anything that, outside of it being wet outside is going to be any kind of a risk, because they're going to run the ball so much. And that's what they do in that triple option, flex bone, whatever you want to call it. But Baylor didn't have a great offensive scheme against them. The defensive scheme was not good. Nothing was good tonight. Nothing was good. This was the worst possible way to end of season. And just under a year ago, we're in New Orleans looking at the end of what is the most successful Baylor season in history, and then they followed up with this. There's just a lot of questions. And Dave Aranda is a guy who's not afraid to go back to the drawing board. I mean, he did it. He's already started doing it. But I do think that there's a lot of drawing to do at that drawing board, Jacob.
Yeah. The option, I'm a guy. I was in a zone, a spread offense when I was in high school. The last time I played football, it's the most entertaining offense to watch, I believe. I think it's where you can get the most out of your playmakers, and it's what's made offense in football really explode over the past 10, 15 years, I would say. But this option style offense that Air Force runs, they did it perfectly tonight. You have a guy that you can give the ball 37 times in Brad Roberts, and he was just, 3 yards in a cloud of dust all by himself. Not to mention Zeke Daniels, throwing the ball kind of effectively, making the Baylor secondary look foolish with 4 completions for just a little over 100 yards and a touchdown. But it's just one of those things where, gosh, to follow up last year's title with this, there's a lofty weight that comes with expectations when you win and are successful with that. And Baylor isn't one of these programs with the history of, blue bloodness that they can, lean back on. And so they really have to, like you said, go back to the drawing board, establish what their identity is going to be. I don't know if this wide zone Jeff Grimes offense is the right answer for them at this moment. But at the same time, they could easily go and find some guys that better suit it, because I think that is probably something that we didn't realize about this team going into the year.
Yeah, and I do think there's a lot of things. We'll get into that in the next segment. The one thing I do want to point out about Zeke Daniels is, those 4 passes for 100 yards on the touchdown, those were probably a little bit of a surprise, especially given the conditions, which were, terrible. It's terrible out there. We're not exaggerating when we're telling you. Emory was out there all night long taking pictures.
He's still a little bit pink.
Yeah, and he's still a little bit pink. He's still he has not. He looks like he's trying to warm up just by thinking about it right now. Yeah.
I consider myself Mother Teresa because I loaned Emory my gloves, and he still came back not having any feeling in his hands. And so my thoughts are with you right now, Emory.
Yeah, absolutely. So. But I will say this: what really got Baylor with Zeke Daniels, because if Brad Roberts is 37 for 116 and 2 touchdowns, and that's what their offense was, then that's what you kind of expected it to be, right? They were ready for that to happen. That's probably fine if you take out the other stuff. But where they really got him was they would have them dead to rights on 3rd down, and Zeke Daniels would run for a 1st down. Yeah. And so they could not stop the quarterback draw all night long, and that's what really stuffed them, because, again, comparing it to when you were playing Kobe and the Lakers, there was a period where towards the end of once Shaq and all them were gone, the kind of strategy was look, Kobe's going to get his. As long as he's not going to get 50, if we can keep him to 38, and defend everybody else, you can beat the Lakers. That's kind of with Brad Roberts here. Like, you kind of know he's going to get his. They're going to give him the ball 37 times. You knew that was going to happen. So that's what you kind of have to expect that, like, okay, that's what you're going to give up.
Yeah.
But the other stuff is what you have to clean up if you're going to stop this team. And they didn't do that. And then on the other side of the ball, Blake Shapen, 11-23, 188 and 2 touchdowns, below 50% passing. But the bigger key is this is the wide zone offense is not built on the pass. The run sets up the pass.
The team only rushed the ball 26 times tonight
for 42 yards. They only ran 49 plays to Air Force's 67, and that's just not going to get it done. When we come back, we'll take some of your texts. Let's talk about this roster and some of the things that they need to do, and some of the things they've already done. You can kind of see where they're going, but the quarterback question remains, Jacob. I think that is the big thing that's going on, and I do think that the rest of the world and the coaching staff see it differently, but I don't think that they would be outside their mind, and we'll dive into this, to really go in and get a quarterback who could win the job. Not someone who can just be a capable backup for Blake Shapen. If they believe in Blake Shapen, that's great.
Because they're not going to attract anyone who has any real juice and experience just to come in and be a backup for a quarterback that just had that performance tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll talk about that next. This is the Baylor post-game show on Sikkim 365, 365 Sports.
Genco's Black Friday Cyber Monday auto loan special is here. Apply for your auto loan online and receive a 0.15% loan discount. Plus, every auto loan gets 90 days with no payments. Then have a chance to win 90 more days with no payments. Black Friday Cyber Monday only at Genco. This special runs till December 2nd. Every online application gets an additional discount plus 90 days no payments. Only at Genco. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. For more information, go to gencofcu.org, member NCUA.
This month, Allen Samuelson Waco is having the Black Friday sales event. You can save big on the new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab with total values up to $4,250 with 2.9% for 72 months. That's right, plus an extra $500 bonus cash to first responders and no payments until January 2023. Shop an award-winning dealership with award-winning product. Allen Samuelson Waco, the place to shop Ram trucks.
Come by, let's be friends.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to the Baylor postgame show here on Sikkim 365, 365 Sports. Paul, Catalina, and Jacob Wilson with you. Emery Winter alongside, and Garrett Ross back in the studio. Let's see. Postgame report is from our good friend Tony Alsbury. This was cold and miserable in every way that the game could be. Let's go home, see y'all in spring ball. Yeah, absolutely. And look, this is the minute this game got to the point where you could tell Baylor had nothing left.
Yeah, it was when Air Force got to 23.
Yeah, but like when you felt the air go out of the balloon for Baylor completely, where it's like, okay, that drive at the end of the first half was really nothing, and or not going to amount to much.
Yeah.
In the second half, I was kind of dreading doing the show. So, but I because I knew it was just like there's no spin to this. But let's go to the phones 254-339-1122. Matt in DC. Matt, I do want to talk about quarterbacks in a second with Jacob, and I'm sure you will. But Matt, that was is about all I can say. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for your call, Matt. Okay. Can you guys hear me now on the chat? We heard that there was no sound there. So I need to know, can you hear me now? Because there was sound. There we go. Okay. So the phone calls.
We've got plenty of yeses.
Okay, good deal. Okay, we're going to have to punt on the phone calls because
we need to make sure everyone can hear everything.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think there's a way to do it, but I can't figure it out in the middle of the show. So we'll just move to text and chat. But yeah, so Matt was very verbose there about, the offense has not improved. Everything's kind of gotten worse as the season's gone on.
Yeah.
Overall. So sorry about that, guys, and that you didn't get to hear that. But to sum up, what was a longer phone call than it needed to be. No offense, Matt, but that it needed to be in that second. I wish you could hear the audio because it was a really great phone call about everything that's kind of gone wrong this season and how it's just kind of tumbled down the mountain. I do think though, just in a practical sense, let's look at what they need to do right now. Okay, I know that this coaching staff really likes Blake Shapen. They really believe in him.
Yeah, they really do,
and that's great for Blake Shapen. And hopefully that'll pay off down the line for Blake Shapen and the rest of the offense. But I also think that if you look at the results on the field right now and the players that are available in the portal, and now look, I'm not saying that they're going to go out and get a lot of these guys. I'm not that would be where they belong. But hold on, I had these rankings up earlier. But there are guys in the transfer portal right now. So that are available that have not committed yet in Brennan Armstrong, Spencer Sanders, Grayson McCall, DJ Uangalele, Hudson Card. I mean, Hudson Card to Baylor makes a ton of sense to me, guys.
If you don't at least pick up the phone and try to give him a call, you really need to reevaluate what you've got in your quarterback room. Because, I mean, Jeff Grimes' best arguing point or best pitch point for high school kids was, hey, look at Zach Wilson. He's the number 2 overall pick. You noticed that. He just got benched in the NFL for the Jets tonight. And look, that BYU team, they won a lot of games, but when they met Coastal Carolina, they got beat. They weren't playing supreme competition when they were in that era. And so Yeah, they had a very good season last year. They had all the right pieces in place, but the quarterback position was the one. Even when Gary was at his best, he was just the guy with the keys to the Ferrari, and he didn't crash it. That's all Baylor has had really since Seth Russell was at Baylor. And so, if you really want to go and get one of these guys, you have to be able to tell them you are every bit capable of starting in this offense right now.
Yeah. And look, I didn't even get to some of the other ones that are maybe more of a longer shot, like Chance Nolan out of Oregon State. He's a guy who's had some success in his career, fought through some injuries. Luke Altmaier, who they beat in the Sugar Bowl, has 3 years of eligibility left, and was a guy who was pretty highly sought after. Not going to play at Ole Miss because of Jackson Dart, who is not a guy who's going to leave early. I think he's going to finish out his eligibility just because of what his skill set is. So there are guys in the portal that you can go in and that can compete with Blake Shapen. Some of them that would come in. Now, look, if you're going to go get Spencer Sanders or Brandon Armstrong or Grayson McCall, DJU, those guys are going to start. They're going to start wherever they go.
They really should.
That's what they're looking for. So if you're not going to do that, then you have to go down to that next level I told you about. But Hudson Card, to me, and he's going to have to compete for the job because he was not the starter at Texas.
No.
So, but that to me makes a lot of sense to go get that guy if you can. Go get Hudson Card out of the portal, and he can compete with Blake Shapen, and then you can see what the best of both of them is, and then you can find some other.
An arguing point you can make to Hudson Card is, hey, you only have to go 90 miles up the road, and you get at least one chance, to beat the team that did not want you to be their starting quarterback. If I am a college quarterback who really wants to make a splash, that is really, really a good opportunity to do so. Because, look, Hudson Card, he looked pretty good. He had some ballsy moments when he was injured and playing for an even more injured Quinn Ewers, but they still deemed Quinn Ewers better, even though he had some freshman moments here and there. And so to have the opportunity to go back and stick it to your old team, that should be your biggest arguing point, because Hudson Card, I think he's still got a lot to prove out there.
Yeah. So look, I just think that it's worth a discussion that you maybe go and get him. So, look, here's
one other guy I want to ask you about, Paul. Hank Bachmeier, Boise State.
That's
the guy I think they could get.
They could get him. I just know Boise State didn't really want him anymore. So,
yeah,
it worked. He left Boise State and everything got better. So, I don't know.
I'm just saying one of those below the top tier guys who would have to compete, because there's a chance that they might have to bring in more than one guy.
Yeah. Let's see. Thank you for comparing Baylor to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I completely understand where you're coming from with the 480. This coaching staff needs to wise up and dump shape, and it's harsh to say, but playing QB at the collegiate level is just not in the cards for him. And the Charlie Brewer comparisons continue. Charlie Brewer would have been better than this tonight. Actually, he looked a lot like Charlie Brewer tonight. Hold on.
He's got to change that jersey number. We said it a bunch
jersey number
tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of. I'll cut him some slack with the weather, but Shapen looked very bad tonight. Do you think we can count on him to take a step forward next year? Anyone available in the portal at QB that can at least compete for the starter? Sorry, okay, I didn't read that last part. Yeah, I just went through kind of all that. There are lots of guys who can compete for this job. Now, there are some guys you can go in and, if you're going to bring in Brennan Armstrong, Grayson McCall, DJU, Spencer Sanders, those guys are going to be your starter. They're only in for a year probably, but they can help you bridge the gap. You're not going to have a quarterback in this recruiting class unless they find one in February. But the thing about quarterbacks is most teams want them to early enroll, so they sign in December. Mm-hmm. So unless you can find a real Josh Allen diamond in the rough, 1-star superstar, you're not probably going to have a scholarship quarterback or a high school quarterback in this class. So you've got to go get two guys. And to me, and I think in the modern era of college football, it's okay to look at this. If you're not winning with your quarterback, and I'm saying this is a blanket statement, if you bring in a guy and beats him in spring and then you have to go back in the portal and get a third string quarterback out, I think that's fine. I think that's a net gain in the long run. So.
Like I mentioned, they haven't had an elite nationally ranked level quarterback since Seth Russell. I think it's pretty clear that this might not be the offensive staff, the offensive scheme to develop guys like a Josh Allen, diamond in the rough guy. So, I mean, if I am, the guy who is recruiting in the transfer portal for Baylor right now, I am going to get a guy who I want a guy, one of those Spencer Sanders, DJUs. I want one of the guys that is absolutely going to start. And if Blake Shapen wants this job back, he's got to find the ghost of what he was last year when he pretty much took the job from Gary Bohannon and earn it back, because it needs to be a wide open competition.
Yeah, he's got to fight for it. The question from Casey: does this season impact your opinion of Aranda? I don't know. Here's the thing. I think I'm never going to not think he's a brilliant coach. I think that everything he tried this year didn't work. So, there's kind of levels to that, right? Where, yeah, it doesn't change my opinion, but he's got to do some things to get the juice back, because they had a ton of juice on January 2nd last year.
Yeah.
And right now it just doesn't feel that way. And part of that is, look, this roster is going to be very, very different next year. And they've gone in the portal. They got the wide receiver from Arkansas.
Yeah, Keaton Johnson.
Yeah. They got Nick. Dominic Richardson from Oklahoma State. They got the Barrington brothers from BYU. So
yes,
they have some things to build around out of the portal. You don't want to build your whole team out of the portal, but they do need those recruits that they brought in last year that need to play a role this year. The guys who are going to be veterans on this team, who are going to be juniors and seniors, need to step up. Their skill positions, running back turned out is probably turned out okay, in the long run.
Despite what happened tonight.
Yeah, despite what happened tonight. Wide receiver, though, is still a problem. I mean, it's a problem. They've got to develop those guys. Like Hal Presley's got something. You can see that. Monterey Baldwin, who didn't play tonight, he's got something. Did he not play tonight?
No, he played. I mean, he was mainly the kick returner, but
yeah,
he
didn't catch a pass tonight.
Nowhere to be seen in the receiving game.
Yeah, I like what we've seen from Josh Cameron lately. I think that he's taking a step forward, but they need game breakers. They need chain movers. They don't really have that right now. And Gavin Holmes, he's out of eligibility. Mm-hmm. Ben Sims is out. I mean, he's going to be gone. So you've got a lot of stuff that you're going to have to replace and build on here in the future in the immediate future for Baylor. Okay, from the 480, is there anything Baylor can be optimistic about for next year? I mean, I think so. I just think you have to be realistic about where this roster is right now and see that it's very much in transition. The good news is that there are examples all over the country of building through the portal to kind of salve the burn a little bit of a rough season and get you back on track quicker. And so they need to go really heavy in the portal this time around, because recruiting was good. I mean, yesterday was a good class. It wasn't a top 20 class, but it was a good class. They got good players in that class.
But they only dipped their toe in that water with 2 players in this past year, and we saw the result. Only one of them actually saw significant time, and it was a little bit underwhelming on the sake of both parties.
Yeah.
And so I think if that's not enough of an indicator, I don't know what is.
Yeah, so they've got to be better in the portal. They've got to, and look, they're going to have to really, in next year, the 2024 quarterback class in particular, they're gonna have to have a better plan than they did with Austin Novosad. Now, no offense to them, this is a guy that had committed for a year, and then he turned down. He went to Ohio State, he went to A&M and turned them down.
Yeah, so for the child of a Texas A&M Aggie to turn down his parents' alma mater to commit to Baylor, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. And so, yeah, well, we discussed it in nauseum yesterday on both the signing day show and the 3 to 6 show. But it's okay to feel like the air has been let out of the balloon a little bit, because that was really surprising.
Yeah, but it also, I don't think you should completely crush the coaches for that, because it kind of happened in the dead of night. And you keep a guy for 366 days of him being committed. And
Baltimore Colts fans had to feel similarly when the team just escaped through the night.
You kind of wake up in the morning this happened in the last couple of days of the cycle. There's nothing you can do, when Oregon hadn't even really been in on him all that much the whole time. So, that's kind of how recruiting goes. And Oregon did that to a lot of people. as well. So, look, the running backs, I mean, when you add Dominic Richardson to Richard Reese, I don't know what's going to happen with the rest of them. I think Quaylon Jones obviously will be back. I don't know about Jordan Jenkins. He had a concussion all year. Tay McWilliams, what happens with him? Squirrel Williams has eligibility, but walked on senior day, so he's got a decision to make. So getting a running back in the portal kind of tells me they at least expect someone to be gone.
Yeah.
So and they brought in Bryson Washington from Franklin. He's a true freshman.
Yeah, it's one to be excited about.
So there are things to be excited about. It's just I'm not sure how many what the roster is going to look like. So tell me, when we see the spring depth chart, when we get the transfers in, then I'll be able to tell you what there is to be optimistic about. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll do one more segment, and then we've got to pack up and head through the frozen tundra here. But one more segment, we'll kind of wrap the season up, give our final thoughts. This is the Baylor Postgame Show on SICM 365 and 365 Sports.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Welcome back to the Baylor Postgame Show here, SICM 365, 365 Sports. Paul, Jacob, Emery. Oops, that wasn't good. And Garrett. And kind of wrapping up this season. Here, this is Dave Aranda just now in the postgame press conferences. Sad for the senior class, the people that they are and relationships that were built. And it's hard to say goodbye after an outcome like this, but that's where we're at. And it's a disappointing end to a disappointing season. So, yeah, I mean,
that's about the best way that you could sum that up.
Yeah, it is. So, I don't know, and we'll see what this team has in the future, but there's going to be a ton of flux going on. New defense coordinator, new special teams coach and safeties coach, like all that's coming in. You don't know maybe what's also going out the door, because here's the other thing that's going to happen this time of year. Other assistants will get jobs now that signing day and the bowls are over. Contracts are weird. For example, Texas A&M needs an offensive coordinator. Baylor needs a defensive coordinator. They might know who they want, but because of how the contracts work, they may wait till after the first of the year. Those people can get their first of the year bonus and then they can leave or whatever it is. So there's a lot of weird things that go on. So what's ahead for this team after this disappointing run to end the season, the 4 game, this game to me felt even maybe a little bit worse than Kansas State.
It definitely was. And if they had been playing a team in the Big 12 that was of Baylor's same exact caliber, Oklahoma or Texas Tech, one of the teams that they beat, I think that it would have been a lot rougher of an outcome than it was out here tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to your point about all the shuffling that's going to be going on in the offseason, college football, every year there's a coaching carousel on every level of football. It's just the nature of the game, coaches moving around. It's almost military-like in that way, being at the Armed Forces Bowl tie-in. But now that the transfer portal being what it is, there's kind of a player carousel as well. And it's it's disappointing given the outcome, as Dave Aranda mentioned, but it's a little bit exciting because even when there's no football being played on the field, there's still a lot going on in the news.
Yeah, there is. And so there's going to be a lot of things that change about this roster. I am a proponent of going in and TJ Scott says, I agree this is worse than K-State, and K-State was bad. I'm a proponent of just going in and getting the best you can in the portal. And if that makes somebody a little bit uncomfortable, then good. Right. I think you can't not take transfer portal people in fear that you have guys on your roster that are going to be offended and go into the portal themselves. Yeah. Like
you have to have guys that are hungry to compete.
Yeah. The portal giveth and the portal taketh away. Right. I mean, so you kind of have to do that. And here's the other thing about the portal. Yeah. I mentioned a bunch of guys who, especially like Oklahoma State, Coastal Carolina, Virginia North Carolina State are all back on their heels now because they lost their quarterback. But for the most part, the guys who go in the transfer portal need to be in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
Like, they're not doing that. So
it's pretty rare that, you have a really good thing going. You have eligibility. You're on a good team. And then all of a sudden you just want to split.
Yeah. It is.
Even in the days of NIL, that seems really odd.
Yeah, the Spencer Sanders one,
that's definitely one of the most puzzling ones.
Yeah, that's puzzling. Like Grayson McCall, look, he's at Coastal Carolina. Jamie Chadwell's gone now. He has an opportunity to go and play and kind of prove before he goes in and try to get in the NFL.
Yeah, and get into a Power 5 team.
Then he can play at a higher level and win games at a higher level to improve his professional stock. Then yeah, absolutely. Plus get some NIL money. Like, again, capitalize on your personal worth, then I'm all for that. But just final thoughts wrapping up the season. I think the word is, like I said, it's disappointing. You didn't follow up the conference title. You have ultimately a losing record at 6 and 7. You had just games where you played uninspired and some games where you played well. Like the TCU game was that was the last kind of moment in the sun. And maybe the first 3 quarters of the Texas game was like, they had it, but it just kind of showed the teams that Baylor was last year that knew how to win, that knew in the moments that this is the moment. This team never really grabbed those moments.
Yeah. And I mean, Craig said it a ton at the beginning of the year, and I think it's so very true. Belief is a hell of a drug. And this is a team that I think apathy is a really bad version of being a hell of a drug. And I'm not a drug guy. I don't know exactly what the good and bad real drugs are, but I don't know how to make that comparison. But when you have a team that played as apathetic as this Baylor team did tonight, I think it's really, really apparent. Because this is a team that really handled Oklahoma and Texas Tech, 2 teams that are playing in better bowl games than them this year. It's really, really clear that you've got to establish a mindset and an identity amongst your team, which I think Dave Aranda is more than capable of doing going into next year. He's just got to figure out the right pieces and how to make the machine run.
Yeah, exactly. I think the other thing was just like they didn't have this awareness. Like I said, just this is the Blake Shapen didn't have some of that, against TCU. This is the moment where you need to kind of forget about everything else and just go make a play. Doesn't matter. And that's the kind of thing. Or on the defense, like, okay, you haven't gotten stops the last few drives.
Yeah.
But it's okay, because if you make this one, then those don't matter ultimately.
Yeah.
That was what they didn't get. And maybe that's a maturity thing. Maybe that's an experience thing. That is what this team was missing more, was an awareness of the moment. They were not aware of this moment tonight that, and they probably knew, a lot of them probably knew, look, Air Force is going to give a crap about this game. I mean, this is a big deal for them.
This was the Armed Forces Bowl. Everything about the pageantry and the environment, it seemed to be leaning toward Air Force just from the get-go before the opening kickoff even happened.
There's 2 states of mind that you can take when a team is going to really care about playing you, that you may not be able to get up for, but Air Force is out there trying to prove that, yeah, we can hang with all these guys in the Power 5. We can do it.
That's a 10-win season for them right there.
Yeah, it's a 10-win season. And they beat some Power 5 teams this year. They did it. They beat some teams that are classically good in the group of 5 too. So they have done all that. And this was a big moment for them. You can either not match their enthusiasm with which Baylor did tonight, or go, okay, listen, we're happy to play you guys. Great. You guys are awesome. You're the Air Force Academy, but this is the big leagues here. That's what that moment they did not wrap their arms around. So
yeah, and I showed you the video during the break, and to add insult to injury, my sister, Major Kate Wilson, she Air Force Academy grad, still active duty, so she's still out there making mom and dad proud. But she took a video with my baby, trying to convert her into an Air Force Falcon. And so, just to add a little bit more sting to the night, Paul.
Yeah. Okay, so Smokey did ask David, this is the last thing we'll do. Smokey asked Dave Aranda in the press conference if the program has taken advantage of a year ago or have they gone backwards. He admitted he made some mistakes and he needs to learn from them, and admitted as well how college football has changed dramatically even in just the last year. All that's true. Yeah. That is true. And look, this is a guy who's self-aware. There are a lot of coaches, and some of them blindly successful. Like wildly successful, and sometimes kind of blindly successful, but wildly successful. There's one in Clemson, South Carolina, I will tell you, that is not that self-aware. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
He makes $11 million a year. Is not even close to that self-aware. So, and he's a good coach. So take the good. Sometimes you get to take the good with the bad and all that. But I do think there is something to be optimistic about, but I don't know what that will exactly be in the long run, because we don't know what this roster is going to look like.
You take the good, you take the bad, and there you have the facts of life.
Yeah, the facts of life. The facts.
Emery's too young for that.
Yeah, I bet you he gets the reference though. He dresses like he's out of 1986. So we might have one there at Emory. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thank you this year, this football season, all you who's tuned in to the post-game show right after the game. When we do this, we start right as the game's over for the most part. Sometimes there's things we can't avoid, like Jacob and I getting stuck in traffic at the Kansas State game. But there are so many people to thank, when it comes to Brian, Ashley, and Colt, our owners, Jacob and Emery and Garrett, Smokey and Craig and Levi and Brian was part of the show this year. Tanner did a show with us this year, Tanner Carlson. So everybody who's been a part of it, you guys for watching. And also when I know some of you don't have time to watch it when it's live, and you come back and we get great numbers on this the next day. Everybody who watches this whenever they do, we so appreciate it. We appreciate we do this for you. We want to be a forum for you to vent. So it's been fun to do this. I am a guy, Jacob, you've known me for a long time.
Yeah.
I did not want to do post-game shows ever. You know that. I'm not a big fan of it. I've enjoyed this immensely the last couple of years. I've enjoyed immensely doing it with you. And so now, I'm a convert. Yeah, let's do a post-game show. So thank you to everybody. Really appreciate it. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll, of course, be back doing lots of other things. But as far as football goes, we have no more post-game shows to do. So that's it. Baylor finished the 6-7, a disappointing 30-15 loss here in Fort Worth in the Armed Forces Bowl. Also, thank you very much to Drew Harris, who runs the show here. Hooked us up. Great venue here. Please pray for the three of us not to freeze to death on our way to the car tonight. We've got some gear to drag. It's a lot. Anyway, thank you. Happy holidays. Good night. Have a great holiday, everybody.